Hi, and welcome to the Business Growth Journey podcast with me, Nick Termini, your host. And I'm here with Jake Shirk of Shirk Media. Jake, tell us about Shirk Media. What's up, man? Glad to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Shirk Media is just my own thing. I've started, I've been doing it for about going on 5 years now.
Yeah.
I'm a videographer and I work to help really small businesses and entrepreneurs just level up their video content so they can get more customers.
Outstanding. And so you said you started about 5 years ago. So what I saw in my research, October of 2020. Awesome year to start a company, man.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit by necessity that it started, right? Because I lost my job that year in like June, and that was really the like probably the thickest part of the pandemic in terms of things being shut down. And so it was really hard to interview for jobs, let alone find ones that were worth kind of doing all of the COVID stuff for.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm going to try to do something on my own. So like that year was really crazy. I worked overnights at UPS. I worked at a liquor store. I did DoorDash. I did all the things I could just to keep the lights on for a little while. And eventually came out being like, hey, I want to start making videos.
Man, well, I know from working with you, you're an awesome videographer, great guy, awesome to work with. But let's back up a little bit. So where are you from? You know, what was your career path to get to this point?
So I grew up in Michigan, a little town called Hillsdale, Michigan. It's about 50 miles south of Detroit. And didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was kind of like the kid in school that was just like, I was consumed with sports.
Yep.
So I didn't think about career or anything in high school. I didn't know like what a major would be or what I wanted to do.
Yep.
And then like
wait, Jake, real quick, who were your sports teams growing up?
What's that?
Who were your sports teams?
Oh yeah. So, I mean, pretty much everything Michigan. So the University of Michigan.
Yep.
That's where like most of my family went to school. Like my dad and my grandmother and stuff like that. And then pretty much all Detroit teams, but I fell out of love with the Lions pretty quickly just because we were so bad. Like for people that don't know, even with Barry Sanders on the team, you could go to the Silver Dome in the middle of the first quarter and buy a $15 ticket. Like they were so bad.
Oh
and
man,
nobody
Barry
wanted.
Sanders is incredible. Though.
I know it was a human highlight reel, but like pretty early on, I switched allegiances. Steelers all day, and that's kind of what I rock with now. So it's like all Michigan teams and Steelers.
And the Fab Five, they pump you up. They get you more inspired into basketball.
Definitely growing up and like kind of knowing what impact they had in college, because they were a little bit before like me watching college ball. But still just like understanding like we all wore high black socks and baggy shorts and all that kind of stuff, and you wanted to have Jalen Rose jersey. So definitely an impact on it for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I still do, man. I'm with you.
Yeah, they were awesome. But yeah, so going into college, didn't really know what I wanted to do. At the last second, I was like, I'll do journalism. But had like never took a journalism class, wasn't a part of the newspaper, like was an okay writer. But
so wait, when you got journalism, what did you think?
So I was in a big Hunter S. Thompson phase.
Okay.
So I was reading
no idea what that is.
Okay, so Hunter S. Thompson was a journalist, and he was very inspired by guys like Timothy Leary, who did like the acid experiments and things like that. So he was heavy into counterculture.
Okay.
And so he did like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is Hunter S. Thompson.
Okay.
The one that got me was Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail. It's probably the best depiction of what it means to like run for government in our country. He embedded with the Hells Angels and like he just did a lot of really cool stuff. And I was really into like that style of journalism. So in my mind, I was like, well, do drugs and go to concerts and write about it. That's journalism, right?
Oh man.
But turns out it wasn't. And the journalism school was actually really hard in college.
I was waiting for you to say you want to be an anchor on Sports Center or something.
No.
Our turn.
That was not me at all.
Gotcha.
Even though those guys were like my heroes. To this day, Stuart Scott dying is like one of the saddest deaths of people I'd never met.
Yeah.
But either way, journalism was really difficult. I got kicked out of that school like immediately. And I went to Kansas State. I should mention that. I went like as far away from home as possible. Didn't know anybody in Kansas.
No roots in Kansas, Missouri.
No.
In the area.
I honestly didn't even recognize Kansas State as a school until the Big 12 championship when Darren Sproles ran all over Oklahoma.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
Darren
when people
Sproles
talk about how sports bring people to colleges, that's
confirmed.
Me. That, yeah, 100%. I applied to like schools that I applied to North Carolina. Huge Michael Jordan fan, loved basketball, loved the Tar Heels.
I'm cracking with you.
Yeah, I applied to San Diego State because I thought it'd be cool to go to school on the beach. And I applied to Kansas State. That was it. So
that's serious diversity. So you got East, Midwest.
Yeah. West. Yeah. And I think I decided on Kansas State because of the Midwest thing. I think it was much more like where I grew up. And I thought that would be a lot.
Cool town, man.
Easy to navigate, small.
Yep.
You don't have to like get on buses to go to school and stuff. Like you can walk campus. Like that was appealing to me.
Awesome.
So I got kicked out of the School of Journalism like pretty much immediately because I didn't care about school that much and I didn't get good grades. And so ended up in politics or political science, I should say, which is kind of a know nothing or like a know everything, do nothing degree. Because you don't like, unless you're going to pair it with something like going to law school, it doesn't really do anything for you, but it just teaches you how to read things and like how to interpret really well.
Okay.
Which was cool. And did that. Really didn't do much in terms of school until my last 2 years. And then I kind of kicked it into gear and did a little bit better. But and then after that, I got into some nonprofit and political work. So for like the 2 years after school, I traveled around the country and did, local campaign stuff. I did stuff for Environment America, the Obama campaign, Organizing for America, HRC, just like all over the country, knocking on doors, throwing events, trying to raise awareness about these things. And then I ended up in New Mexico and did, what was it? I did a gubernatorial campaign and a senatorial campaign. And that was kind of like my last thing in politics because it was just gross. It exposed a lot of things to me. Because I was finally like, I got into this office where not only were we doing local stuff, but like I got to meet President Obama. I got to meet Tim Kaine. I got to like go to these barbecues and like see them fly in on Air Force One. And like, so I got a little bit embedded into the inner workings of what was happening.
Yeah.
And it was gross. It was gross. It was a lot of handshaking, a lot of money going back and forth, a lot of politicking for people for, not great reasons, not because of what they were going to do for people, but what they represented on a bigger scale in terms of the parties and stuff like that. Okay. So I quit that and ended up going back home and living at home. I had my 25th birthday at my dad's house. And again, just kind of went back to I said this earlier about what I was doing after I got fired, but like I got on roofs. I worked at a warehouse. I just did whatever I could to like save up enough money to move back to Kansas City.
Yep.
Moved back to Kansas City.
What made you want to come back to Kansas City?
My wife, my girlfriend at the time, but we met when we were sophomores, I think end of sophomore year in college. And we've been together ever since. So yeah, she was the main reason I came back. And the first job I got when I got back into Kansas City, this is kind of a theme in my life. I just work shitty jobs. I worked at the American Inn off of out in North Kansas City.
I know right where you're talking about, right down the street from my office.
So bad, dude. It's like a $65 a night hotel that you can pay hourly, which is great for prostitutes and zip car drivers. Back then, at least, which it was. And I worked the night shift, and so I just got like I got some stories from that one.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
not seeing a roadmap to videography.
Yeah. So we'll get
Awesome.
there. We'll get there.
No, this is great.
So I took the first job I could get out of that hotel. And that was a recruiting job.
Yep.
Which I didn't really ever, I didn't know what recruiting was. So I was recruiting on site at what was it? FedEx, maybe a FedEx Smart Post or something like that.
Mhm.
And so I was just like hiring people and training them how to do that job. And that was like a very entry level to that, like was not making any money doing it, but kind of progressed through that industry. So I went from like a FedEx job to managing a branch for another company as a recruiter that did like light industrial stuff.
Yep.
Went from that to Amazon. And then I was with Amazon for about 5 years. And then took a job with a city government job. But kind of all through those, I was doing hiring and recruiting.
Yep.
And that's that process and that job changes with the industry, with technology. It has to change. So like you have to be where people are essentially. So it started off, you're putting out, ads or whatever in, classifieds, or, you're going to unemployment offices and posting things and talking to people and like putting on events where you talk to people,
Yep.
to almost strictly being online. Where people are searching for jobs. So like getting really good at like Indeed and LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, especially towards the end of Amazon and when I got in the government job, video started to be a thing, right? So now people could post. So this is like 2016-ish, 2017. So like 10 years ago almost. That's like when you started to see video on LinkedIn and you started to see video advertising where people would like do a day, what it's like to work in this office like for a day, or they would do walkthroughs of their buildings and things like that.
Yep.
And so I started to do that. I started just using my phone to like make videos of like I said, I was working for city government. So I was like, you guys, if you want to work at the Parks and Rec department, come with me to a park. And I'd like walk through all the parks and like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's kind of where the video stuff started, is that. And then when COVID happened, it became like almost necessary. Like you had to have video, because now all of a sudden people are using Zoom and like kind of getting used to this technology, and people are like, oh, these video things are way more accessible and way easier to understand than we ever thought. And so I started to get into that more. And so like when I was working at home during COVID and still with the city government, I like started to film my own podcast. I started to like just use, I actually still have it right here.
I love show and tell.
This is the first camera I ever bought. It's just like this little camcorder, which I used for like everything. I used as a webcam and all that kind of stuff forever. But it was good because it taught me how to edit. Which I think is probably the hardest thing when it comes to making videos. So I started to just edit like crappy video. But like I got good at like, making fake backgrounds and doing like fun skits and stuff like that. And I started to put that on LinkedIn and had a few of those things go pretty viral, get like 400,000 or 500,000 views on LinkedIn or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe I could just do this. Like maybe I could just make videos.
Maybe we got something here.
Yeah. And that's where it started. So that's through all of that. There was no video production in my background. There was no desire to work in video or anything like that. It's just kind of the progression of the industry that I was in, and then the necessity of being laid off and not being able to find work anywhere.
Yeah. And so at this point in your life, so you had moved back to Kansas City, or moved to Kansas City, I guess, if you were in Manhattan, you didn't live in Kansas City before. So you're married, kids at this point?
No, we didn't have, well, once we got established in Kansas City, so we had our first kid in 2014.
Yeah. And so then when you're talking about, fast forward to when you got fired and, started Shirk Media.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of life going on, right? So you've got COVID, which is still confusing.
Yeah.
And then you have 2 kids,
Yep.
2020,
Mhm.
and are married. So you've got to figure out, how to make a living, and the
Yeah.
pressure's high at that point. What did you, from a mindset standpoint, was it just go because I have to, I need to make this work? Like what, help push you forward to get Shirk Media off the ground?
Yeah. So there's a couple things. So I was pretty lucky in the sense that I started working at Amazon at a really great time.
Mhm.
Where like anybody that can attest, anybody that did similar thing as me as Amazon can attest to this. So I started there in like 2016, 2017,
Yep.
and they were giving out signing bonuses of stock, and the stock was not very valuable when they did that. So I got like quite a few shares of stock at like $300 or $400 a share.
Mhm.
Um, and then they were RSUs, so they vest after a certain amount of time. So after I was there for 4 years or something like that, I had like $40,000 in stock
Awesome.
that I was able to pull. So I paid off my college, I paid off my wife's college, and then we had a little nest egg. I bought a truck, and then I knew I had like 6 months
Mhm.
where I could be okay.
Yep.
And so it wasn't like I gotta hustle, I gotta hustle, I gotta hustle because of money. Money's never been a big motivator for me.
Yeah.
But it was like I have to establish something where I'm not reliant on other people because I was very jaded by the firing aspect
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
everything. Because I mean, the reason I got fired was a big part of it. Like ultimately, I think they just didn't like me, and they found a reason that was completely invalid to fire me, and that really jaded me of like, oh, people can just like end your career
Yes.
whenever they want to if you're reliant on a big company.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to position myself where I didn't have to be reliant on a big company. And so I mean, to this day, that's kind of the struggle, and that's kind of what I'm working towards.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And I've gotten to know you. You're a great guy. So, um, and when you started Shirk Media, obviously you mentioned it was kind of out of necessity how things came together. But what
Yeah,
was your vision? What did you want Shirk Media to become?
that's a good question. So I think at the beginning, it was very narrow in terms of the vision. It was kind of just like industry specific. So I knew I'd been in recruiting for 10 years.
Yep.
So a mixture of HR and hiring process.
Yep.
So I knew that really well. And so that's what I started talking about at first. Is like I want to get back into these industries because when you're a recruiter, another thing that kind of happens naturally is you build a network of other people that are in like that industry, which can lead you to a lot of different types of industry. Because I was a recruiter more specifically towards light industrial, but I knew recruiters in tech. I knew people that worked for Garmin that were recruiters. I knew people that worked in all these different industries. And so I was like, oh, I can just present this video thing like to the same people I've been networking with.
Yeah.
So I kind of just tapped into my initial network of people, and I was like, "Hey, you need corporate videos?" Because I had no idea what that meant. I was so bad with a camera when I first started. Like it was, but I was like, I just spent $2,500 on a camera. I should probably use it and like figure this out. Which was
Have it.
yeah, it was. I can't even express to you the anxiety the first time I opened up that camera
Yeah.
and turned it on and realized how much went into making a video. Like
Yes.
the menu on the camera alone, I was like, "Oh no.
Um,
I thought you just hit record." Like
Jake, this is gold because like a lot of people that start companies, you have a vision or an idea of where you want to go and what you want to become, and then when you take the first couple steps, you realize the gap between where you are and where you want to go. All the things you're going to have to learn and grow into,
yeah.
and you're highlighting it from your journey, from starting out in journalism to being a recruiter to then putting your flag in the ground and getting rolling with Shirk Media. And the growth is never ending, right? It's a journey.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, what once you realize like, holy cow, man, I've got this $2,500 piece of equipment, and now I got to make this thing dance. We got to make this thing work.
Yeah.
How did you put one foot in front of the other to, start to grow to where you are now?
Yeah. So I lied on my resume a lot. Highly recommend it to anybody
This is
that's
before Chat GPT. I mean, this is authentic stuff.
Yeah. Like, for sure recommend it to everybody that's trying to break into a new industry. People don't background check you at all. So I lied a lot, and like, about what I could do. Got myself in situations that I had no idea how to pull it off.
Yep.
But that was good for me. I think I thrive in a little bit of chaos, whether that's because of the way I grew up or just the way I'm wired. Like, I think I do well in there. So it forced me to learn very fast. So like, one of the first jobs I got was on ESPN. And I had...
Wait, we're back to ESPN. Here we go.
I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I was like, oh no. So like, I salvaged that.
What was your job at ESPN?
So I covered TBT, the basketball tournament.
Okay.
And that
Could you elaborate on TBT?
Yeah, TBT is $1 million prize tournament that happens every summer. So this is like former professionals, guys that played D1 basketball, played overseas. So it's a lot of alumni teams. So there's like a K-State alumni team. There's the Louisville alumni team.
Oh, really? Cool.
So it's like...
I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's coming to Kansas City this year. So we're going to have a regional at T-Mobile, which is going to be pretty sweet.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Still part of it?
No, I did it for 2 years. But either way, like, that was a really cool experience. I didn't do great the first year that I was there. I think they realized that I didn't necessarily know what I was doing. But it forced me to learn. It gave me a lot of footage to edit, which was probably the most helpful thing, because I can't overemphasize this. There is a huge difference between going outside and using your camera and getting into a stadium that is lit for cameras.
Okay.
It is. I didn't know I could make pictures look the way they looked until I got into a stadium.
Oh, really?
And was like, oh, this is lit specifically so it looks good on TV. And so it makes your camera look so different.
Awesome.
And so it made me realize, like, oh, there's levels to this, and it's not only on my skill, but like the lighting of everything and like understanding how to use your equipment in certain situations.
Yeah.
So from there, I was very proud of this fact, but I made a video every day for over a year. So I just grinded. I had my camera like nonstop set up, even if it was just like filming my kids and joking around with them. Like, I filmed it, I edited it, I posted it every day for over a year. So I had over 400 videos that I just made at home in that first year. And that's really the thing that like got me on a trajectory. Yeah. So during that time, again, I was just like, I was literally pitching jobs of how I know how to use my camera using footage of my kids. That's all I had, so that was my portfolio. That was how I got started. But that year was like instrumental into me like taking this thing seriously and really trying to get better. Yeah,
dude, that's incredible. I mean, to get to where you want to go, there's no substitute. You got to grind yourself into what you want to become, and then
you got to do the work.
Yeah, there's no way around it.
Yeah.
Well, it's so fast forward to when you and I met, right? If you could talk, how did we meet? And there's a couple of highlights from that I still take away and am still trying to help build. So
I don't remember how we met.
So you were introduced to me on LinkedIn from Cole.
Oh yeah.
Shout out Cole. What's up, Cole?
Shout out Cole Sales. I feel so bad.
Yeah. And then when we met, so I had been on this quest to find a good videographer for, I think, a year. I talked to about 20 different videographers.
Yeah.
And I think I told you that. And, the different, I came across a lot of great, talented people, but, one, they couldn't translate what my vision was to bring it to reality. And then they struggled with calling me back, the reliability aspect of it.
Yeah.
And what you were able to do, if you remember our meeting, I would just bring up scenarios, and we got on my whiteboard, and I'm like, okay,
Oh
how would
yeah.
you do a recruitment video?
Yeah.
Right? How would you create a testimonial video? And then you were able to show me, here's exactly what I do. First, we want to highlight this, then we want to bring in the people and add this element. And you laid it out so beautifully in ways that I hadn't even seen before. And just like you were talking about earlier, being able to use video for recruitment, celebrating your team. I mean, at my company, Action Coach North Kansas City, I mean, that's part of it, is building a recruitment system. And it also helps with retention of your own people. And so having a connection like you that saw exactly what I was saying from your experience and then was able to translate it into real life, man, it was incredible. And so being able to work with you has just continued to open my mind to creative ways to highlight other people, as you know. And man, I mean, it's just a lot of fun to see how your brain works, because it's not in a traditional creative sense. You're able to take,
Yeah.
what you learned in the corporate world or
Yeah.
from different opportunities you had, and then add creativeness to it. It's cool stuff. So could you talk more about, and other things, testimonial videos, man, like you're able to ask questions that other people don't think of, and also make people comfortable in ways that
Yeah.
people, you turn on a camera and people like lock up, myself included. I mean, you had to drag it out of me. So kind of talk what it's like been working with, different, whether it's business owners or, just HR managers, to help on the recruitment side. Like what is it you're able to showcase and bring out to help get better candidates, and just what that flow looks like within a company?
Yeah, I think the cool thing with where I'm at right now is you can really look at it kind of as a full circle evolution. Because like I said, when I went to school, didn't know what I was doing, ended up in political science. And political science is a degree where you have to read 1,000 pages, or let's keep it easy. You have to read 100-page opinion from a judge and figure out what the most important 3 lines are.
Okay.
Because you have to know what the takeaway is, and a lot of it's jargon, a lot of it's bull crap that they have to put in there.
Yep.
And so I got really good at like picking apart the things that people feel are important. And you have to do that for personalities. So like we would have to do it for all the Supreme Court justices, and like know what their personality would dictate what their takeaway is, and like where does that appear. And so I got really good at taking a lot of information and chunking it down to the pieces that people need to understand.
Yep.
And that really is effective, for writing about a job. So when I was recruiting, and like if I wanted to highlight the top 5 things that a company has, I feel like pretty confident, if you give me like a couple days to talk with the people that are in charge of the company, that I can tell you what people are going to find appealing.
Yes.
In that. So that's kind of where I'm at now, where I can talk to people. And I've also interviewed like thousands of people for jobs, and job interviews suck. Nobody writes them well. It is astonishing to me how bad people are at writing job interviews.
Yep.
It's always like a gotcha type of situation. Like they want to test you and they want to see you fail. It's like, what the hell are we doing? I was always very much so the opposite. I was always very much so like, I want to find, especially in a room full of people, because like if you're interviewing like CEOs or managers, you're generally in a room of like 6 or 7 people, right?
Yep.
So there's one person interviewing with a group. And so like I always tried to make my job the thing where like I could get somebody's eyes to light up and like really go on a tangent about something they're passionate about. Because to me, that's when you see the best in people.
Yeah.
Is when they are like excited about the conversation, and when they're not just like worried they're going to say something wrong. And so that's what I would really focus on. And that's what I focus on to this day. I did, the last year I worked on a television show, and my a big part of my job was to do interviews. So whether it's, it's like a reality show. So you have to get all aspects of conversations, and you have to like pull people out and be like, hey, can you tell me about your experience that you just had with this person? And like, blah, 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 blah. And then also like when they would win something, I would interview them afterwards. And I think just getting to understand what people react to and what people get lit up about. It's different with everybody, but there's some through lines with all people, people are passionate about their family. People are passionate about, where they're from and their upbringings and things like that. So you can always find those little pieces. And when I interview people, especially about like testimonials, about businesses and things like that, you could say a lot of the same things about most companies. Most business is transactional. Hey, you do something that I need, I pay you money. That's what the job is. That's what somebody does for me. And the need might be kind of niche. And so I feel like it's my responsibility to like find an overwhelming through line with as many people as possible that are going to relate to what you're talking about. Because if I can get people past the fact that you clean toilets and that's what your business is, and then like turn it into like the service that you do for a community, or the type of person you are that would make people want to invite you into their house.
Yeah.
If I can get to that point, then that will make people who watch that video or who watch that conversation at least go to their website, which is really all we're trying to do, right? We're just trying to capture people that next step. I don't think that a video is an end all be all for a company. I don't think it's going to change, everything in an overnight. Yep. But if you can get more people to the step that you want to get people to, then that's the goal. And I think you do that by relating, not necessarily overwhelming people with information, but being relatable.
Well, and part like you mentioned, maybe a janitorial company, right? So being able to share their why. What are the things that they do beyond that, and what drives them as an organization? How do they find fulfillment by serving the community and that type of thing? And I mean, in my time working with you, that's what I've been able to see is exactly what you said. Like, working with me, I move and talk and think pretty fast, and you're able to get me to slow down and focus on the things that are most important. And so, what is it that gives you the juice in all this? What is it that pumps you up in working with people, whether it's, video about a hiring process, video about testimony, or, working with somebody for a marketing video, or, like a reality TV show, like you said, or doing sporting events. Yeah. What is it that pumps you up about being in the video industry?
So a few things. So first of all, just kind of like the lane that I'm trying to carve out for myself is more so as like, testimonial-esque videos where I get a chance to interview people. I really love to interview people. I think
you're good at it too, man.
Well, thank you. I think that a really good interview, if you can bring the best out of people in an interview, I think it's invaluable to telling that person's story. And there's a reason why networking works. Like when you go to a networking event, immediately you're in a shared environment. Like people automatically feel comfortable, even if they're slightly like anxious about meeting new people or whatever. When you put yourself in that shared environment, and automatically you have something to relate to. Even if you're anxious, I bet you can find somebody else that's anxious.
Yeah, there's a common ground.
Yeah, you immediately establish that. And I think that's what I try to do when I talk to people, is like immediately try to establish a common ground. Like, how do you and I relate? And then let's blow that sentiment up and like make it as big as possible. And so everybody can see what I see. And it's just, the reality is, like, whether you're a janitorial service or, a coach or whatever it might be, that's not necessarily the interesting part about people. That's the thing that you're trying to show off. But the interesting part is people's stories, like how people got there. I think that's the reason why podcasts have become so popular over the last like 5 or 6 years is you get to hear more than just what the person offers. And that's what we connect to. There's the old sales adage where people don't buy product, they buy people. You know, they don't buy a thing, they buy who you are. I think that's 100% true. And I think as cliche as it is, it's cliche for a reason. It's, you want to show off who people are. And I think that's, again, just like, that's what gets me excited is I get to hear people's story. I get to see it. And then I get to go and try to make it like as beautiful as possible. And then like try to find the imagery that supports it the best and the music that supports it the best and all of that kind of stuff. So it's you're kind of always creating the story. And that's a lot of fun.
So you talked about your passions, right? Now, and getting to know you, I also know you're a huge basketball fan. And you love coaching your kids. And I've told you, my kids are starting to yes, perfect. Here we go, baby. Yeah. So tell me what it's meant to you to get into to start coaching your kids in basketball and in sports and just what that aspect of your life, like what that's brought to you to be able to be there with your kids and just to be able to be around the game and the things that you love.
Yeah. Well, I mean, shout out to not having a 9-to-5 and allowing me to be with my kids so much. Yeah, that was one of the bummers of, when I worked at Amazon, when I first started working there, I was traveling a bunch. And so I couldn't, my kids were young enough where it was like, I'm not missing a ton. But then I was working overnights and I would get home at 6 and they would leave at 7 and they'd be back at 3 and I'd be like asleep still. So being able to do what I do now is awesome because I do get to spend the time with my kids and I can kind of control my schedule. And so I was able to, I've coached my son in basketball for the last 3 years. And I just picked up coaching soccer, but that was I don't know how that's gonna go.
I still don't know the rules of the game. The game, my wife's like, how long is this? When's the game over? I'm like, the clock keeps going up. I have no idea.
It's not my wheelhouse, but I've been around soccer enough recently where I can kind of I can kind of bullcrap my way through it. But it's been super important for me to be with my kids and have that time. That's not something I had when I was growing up. And so it's always been like, I want to be there for all the games. I want to be there for all the practices. I want to be there for when they do outstanding things in school. And honestly, like being able to do that, not just with my kids, but with other kids, takes your patience level to a whole nother level, right? Because you get comfortable. I don't want to say disciplining, but shutting down the nonsense with your kids and, in the way that you feel is appropriate that you might not do with other kids. And so you have to be, super patient and it's developed a lot of empathy, just in my life in general, having kids. I've always had empathy for like big problems, if people have like if cancer strikes somebody's family, I've always like felt bad for things like that. But I've noticed recently where it's like even beyond just those kinds of things, like if I see somebody having trouble in public with their kids, like their kids are freaking out or something like that, that used to be like, I used to be like, what the hell are you doing? Like figure it out, figure it out. Right. For the rest of us. But now it's like, okay, I get it. Maybe I could help. Maybe there's somewhere I can help here. And I think in general, just especially being an interviewer and talking to people, that's also extremely helpful to be able to feel empathy for, because this is also a cliche, but the worst thing that somebody goes through is the worst thing that they've ever gone through. You can't compare bad feelings or good feelings. And so when people feel massive success in their business, if you compared it to a bunch of different things, you might be like, oh, that's not very successful. But if you're able to like really lock in with those people and understand where they're coming from and what they've done to get to that point, then you can like celebrate it as a big thing. And that people love that, right? People love you being able to relate to their success and to their failure and, being able to talk about those things and being around a bunch of kids that are constantly failing. It's very helpful. It works on your patience a lot. And I love like you said, I love the game of basketball.
Oh,
It's a
okay, real quick.
problem.
Now,
Yeah.
if you were going to teach a jump shot to a 6-year-old,
Oh yeah.
where would you start?
Yeah. Stand against a wall.
Okay.
So put your right shoulder against a wall.
Yeah.
Lift your hand up. And just
Okay.
go straight up. So your arm can't go out. So your elbow stays in.
You got to keep that elbow
You
tight.
got to keep it tight. Keep it tight. And so that's where I start with everybody. And then eventually they put the ball in their hand.
Yep.
And they roll it up with the wall until it gets there, and then you can flick it.
Okay.
And just that's what I do with my kid. Just like stand against this wall, get used to what it feels like, and then go out and test it. But really, with most kids, they're not strong enough to shoot a normal jump shot yet.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of like, do what feels comfortable. If it's shooting with 2 hands or whatever, that's fine. And then we'll figure out a way to make it better, just based on what you have. It's just,
Now, what about dribbling? Because this is a different kind of coordination. And
oh yeah.
Looking back, I always loved practicing shooting, but dribbling, I wasn't at full speed on. I was more like the part of the demolition crew when I played basketball. Coming out with that Dennis Rodman, go get the ball.
Hell yeah, yeah.
But now that I'm watching my boys, learn, trying to teach them how to dribble, I'm realizing there's a lot of holes in my game. And as I'm learning patience and empathy and all the things you talked about,
yeah,
I still want to be able to help them with the fundamentals, because in that, so before I go any deeper, how would you teach dribbling?
So go get one of those silent basketballs.
I've heard about these.
Yeah, they are awesome, especially for kids. Like as an adult, if you play with it, it's not great. It doesn't bounce quite high enough to like really do stuff. But as a kid, like that's low to the ground, it's so good. My kid uses it all the time.
So
and
5 dribbles left, 5 dribbles right, crossover. Yeah. Like how do you start?
I wouldn't don't even start with drills. Don't even start with rules. Just let them dribble. Like getting the coordination of it, you can do that in play. You don't have to be like drill it. Just say, hey, don't, like when they're practicing, make sure they're not double dribbling and make sure they're not traveling and like correct that. But outside of that, just the feel of the basketball. And then once they get a little bit older, once they get a little bit coordinated, because as if you're 7, 8, 9 years old, you might not even like have the arm length to go between your legs or to go correctly behind your back. And you don't want to start doing it the wrong way, because then you have to correct that later as you get older. So once they get to be like 10, 11, 12 in there, I think that's when like real skill like training can start. But before that, it's just play and figure out coordination and figure out what works for you.
Yeah, you get better at playing the game by playing the game.
Oh yeah, like
right. And one of the coolest things, and maybe you could talk about this when you're coaching these teams and being able to see the development of the kids and where they get it, and then their confidence goes up, right?
It's awesome.
And from there, teaching them to celebrate the wins. It's okay to feel good that you're getting better.
Hell yeah.
Could you talk about like what that journey's been like for you as a coach? Like you talked a little bit about some of the frustrations and having empathy for them. Man, the wins are sweet.
Yeah, I think this is the first year where I emphasized winning.
And I don't just mean winning the game. I mean like
you
can see they're
getting better
in the aha moments where they're like, I can do this, right? Like a belief in themselves and their team.
Yeah, I think so. The reason I started off by saying emphasize winning is because that's not youth sports in America have changed a lot since I was a kid.
No more Sandlot anymore, right?
Yeah, no, there's no like I had competitions with kids in all sports at all times.
Yeah.
And it was never about just having fun. It was always about winning.
Yeah.
Like I always wanted to be the best player on my block, whether it was we're playing, hockey in the driveway, or we're shooting, or we're playing football. Like I always wanted to be better than everybody. That's not really a thing as much nowadays. Like that drive to just be the best. You just don't see it as frequently, I don't think. So this is like the first year where like I introduced the idea of like winning and what it means to win and what it means to lose. Yeah. And some parents probably felt certain ways about it because I made it very clear. I make it very clear in my practices and stuff. It's like this is not recess. This is much more like a classroom than it is recess. and we are going to do the things to get better. And if we get better, we should win. And if we're not winning, it means that we're not doing the things that we need to do to get better.
The activities and the work put in lead to the results.
100%. So like with the grade that they're at right now, so they're in second grade. With where they're at right now, I told them, like, if you guys can rebound and you can set effective screens, you're going to win every single game.
Love setting a good screen.
Well, it's just true.
I need you on a jumping high, but I love setting a good screen.
Yeah. And so it was fun to like watch kids fall in love with setting a good screen. Like I had a kid on the team this year that, like, he's not the most coordinated kid. I don't think he's ever made a shot in a game.
Okay.
But he started setting some screens, boy, where we had kids laid out, and I had refs coming up to me saying, "Hey, if he knocks over another kid, I'm gonna have to call it." And I said, "Call what? Being bigger? You're gonna call that he's bigger than the other? We all know that he's bigger. We see it.
It's not in the rule book."
Yeah. So like, I was really proud of that kid for, stepping up. And I think the greatest thing about basketball is you have to be a role on a team. Like you have to be a piece of it. There's rare kids that can win games by themselves.
Yep.
You don't come across that very often, especially at the youth age group. So it's like, if we got, two kids that can really rebound, and we got one kid that just lights it up shooting, and we got one kid that can bring it up because he's a competent dribbler, and we got one kid that plays like all out defense and he gets all the steals. Like when you get like one of those in each of those little positions, you can be a good team. And I think winning feels better when you understand who you are to the team.
Yes.
So like given purpose was a big thing for me. Like if I knew a kid wasn't going to, if I know a kid's not going to be great offensively, he might not score all season, then before every game, I'm talking to him about how he's the best defensive player on the team. And like, I need him to lock up, and I need him to jump for balls and like get on the ground, get steals, like be in the right position when we're on offense. But your goal is defense. Like you're going to help us win this game by not letting them score. And I think seeing kids develop purpose and really understanding their place in a system is awesome for me, because I know how much that's going to help them in life. And because that's what it is. Like you can't do everything by yourself.
This is amazing stuff, Jake, because not, what we were talking about at the beginning was the development of your career, putting in the work, taking videos of your kids every day so that you're able to edit, so you're able to have a portfolio.
Yeah.
And then, being able to hear how really it's different, but it's actually the same, right? Like how you're developing kids on the basketball court and coaching them up and teaching them step by step how to get there, right? Like, do you see the similarities in how you help develop people in business to how you are coaching your kids' teams?
Yeah, I think it's obviously when you're talking with little kids, you have to like really lay things out. You have to be very black and white. You have to give them like, if you do this, you can get to here, and like show results along the way. With, you're working with adults, you hope that you can give very little, and people can like build their own understanding of it and their own feeling of it. And like, because you don't want to try to dictate how people, like, I think I talked to you about this. I hate scripts.
You hate script. You talked to me about it because I tried to use a script and it took us like 2 extra hours. Is brutal, man. You're like,
yeah. So like,
you're not a script guy.
Yeah, I hate scripts.
I'm not trying to fit a round peg in a square hole here.
No, and the reason for that, and I think people understand this after I go with them for a couple times. It's like, you have to be confident in who you are, or else it's never going to translate. Like if the person that you are when we have a conversation at dinner or over a drink or something, and then you go into a video and like your voice changes and like your inflection changes, and you're like reading a book. Yeah, exactly. It's like you're reading a book to me all of a sudden. It's great, man. It's not good. So the same way I want kids to like be their own person and develop like what their purpose is, it's the same thing with adults. It's like, I want to try to show you what's special about you that you don't even see yet,
Yeah, and so like I've felt the progression, and I've seen it through other people I've worked with you, where the first time people are generally kind of uncomfortable being on video.
Yeah.
So the first time they're like, that's just not my thing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
social media or like videos or whatever. You're like, okay, why?
Yeah.
And really it's a reflection in the mirror of themselves of what they don't want to do, or it's another space you have to learn and grow and get comfortable with. I
Yeah.
don't like my voice, like everybody's got the same thing going on, and
Yeah.
when
I'm
people
horrible at it.
realize that at the end of the day, I mean it's just about getting better. So
Mm.
like you were talking about the activities and putting in the work lead to the results.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing, whether it's coaching a youth basketball team or working with a team in videography or just, a business in general, right? If
Yeah.
you're doing the activities and putting in the work, have the right vision and direction, and you're able to put everybody on the team
Yeah.
in the right spot, it leads to the larger goal towards the vision and what's laid out. And I think
It's so let me interrupt you just for 1 second, because
please do.
it is so crazy. Like when you put it in that terms and comparing like teaching a kid a jump shot and
Yeah.
teaching them how to play basketball, and then it is so crazy how many business owners think they can make a 3-point shot when they can't make a layup. Like
I don't know. We're in bounds, like where the court lines are. Yeah.
there's so many people that I talk to that maybe I've even done videos with, and they come up with an idea of how video is going to help their business and how whatever is going to happen. And then when I tell them, it's like, so in 6 months we can come back and revisit this and see if it's working. They're like, what do you mean? Oh,
Oh,
you thought you were just going to step out there and be Michael Jordan?
oh, stay
No, that's
warm,
not how it
baby.
works. That's not how it works. We have to develop this skill.
Oh
So
man, dude,
like
and it is a skill. It's a skill. I'm
100%.
on you're in coaching them, but being on the other side of the lens, it is a progression for sure. And so that's why when we were talking about coaching your kids' teams, where do you start for a jump shot? Where do you start? Teach them how to dribble. Where do you start?
Yeah.
It's the same thing in any aspect of life, business, whatever. And when you look at what you do with a videographer, as creating video and trying to bring the best out of people, well, you're not automatically your best the first time,
No.
right?
No. Definitely not. Nobody is. I mean, I think little plug right here.
Yeah. No, this
So
show's all
my
about.
camera here, so pretty.
Wait. Pull back out and get out the first one. We're talking about progression
Yeah.
and growth here. Look at this business growth journey right there.
Business growth journey right there. Yeah. I've had that camera for about a year, and I feel like right now I'm like getting good with it. Like,
Dangerous, man. I
yeah,
can
I'm
put a twinkle in your eye, baby.
starting to get pretty nice with it.
Yeah.
But it's taken me a while, and it's like the same thing when people, when I talk to people, and I do an interview style pretty much every time I first start with people. It's not always like that, but
Yep.
that gives me an idea of how people talk. It gives me an idea of like what they want to talk about.
Yep.
Again, am I able to see that time where their eyes light up and they're like, oh, I'm really good at this? And because then I can be like, okay, we can develop something around that.
The first time you generally just see fear and confusion, right? Like why
Yeah,
am I
yeah,
not killing it right now? I thought today
exactly.
one take and I was going to the Hall of Fame, baby.
Exactly. It's like one of the biggest red flags that I see with people, and this is, listen, if you're this person, then you should call me because I can help you. Is when people can't give me what their business does
Yep.
on camera.
Yep.
Like when I say, okay, what do you do as a business? And they can't tell me, it's like, we got to work on this.
Yep.
Like if you're going to put your best foot forward and show people what it is that you do, and you're going to attract clients and people that are going to pay you money, you better be able to say what your business does, and you better be able to say it effectively.
Yep.
And that
And what
means
it
like,
means to your clients too.
yeah. So like we need to get to a point where you can introduce yourself and say, hey, my name's Jake Shirk. I work with Shirk Media. My goal is to work with small businesses and promote them in a way, blah, 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 blah. If you can't do that, then we need to make you able to do that. Like every time you get on camera.
Yes.
And because those are the things that speaking precisely and speaking directly to people is what video in business is all about.
Yep.
You can't read off, like, you can't read a script. You can't read off cards, especially when it's like, tell me about your tell me about your work life. Like, what does it look like if somebody works here? If you
Yep.
can't tell me that, you got to work on a lot of things.
Absolutely. Okay, Jake. So this is good stuff, man, because
Thanks, man.
just like what you're talking about, the goal of this podcast is to celebrate your journey, to be able to share your story and help bring out the best. Exactly like what you're saying that
Yeah.
your goal is when you work with people, and it's people that make great companies, right? Like it's
100%.
that's the name of the game. So if we can highlight people and showcase what makes the people great, that make great companies, that serve our community, then in my opinion, we're going the right direction.
Yep.
And so could you tell us a little bit about Shirk Media and who you work with? Like you mentioned testimonials, you mentioned recruitment process, also doing reality TV shows, sports. Like tell us about Shirk Media and how we could work with you.
Yeah. So it's, I've kind of gotten to a point where I'm touching a few different industries, which I like because it keeps it fresh. But with that said, what I do is very specific. I'm not somebody that's going to come in and like create this amazing highlight video that like has all these graphics and motion efforts and like having to bring on editors and colorists and things like that's not me, right?
Yep.
But what I can do is like sit down and help you develop the best version of your story for public consumption. So when you're talking about like if you're one of the industries I like to work in is with gyms, specifically gym owners for like niche local gyms. It's really important for me to like be able to get in there and feel it and kind of like understand what makes this place special. So like going and like being able to work out in a gym or like see the people that come in and like talk to the parents of kids that are in gyms and all that kind of stuff, like being able to develop that total picture
Yeah.
of what it means to be a member here. That is like super special to me. And that's what I try to do with every company. So my process is a process.
Yeah.
I don't like doing one video deals with people. I think that's a horrible waste of your money.
Wait, this goes back to what you said. Nobody shows up, does one video, goes into the Hall of Fame and retires, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple companies out there that you could call and say, "Hey, I need one video that's going to help me change my life."
Yeah.
It's going to cost you 20 grand.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. If you want to go down to the guys at Let It Fly Media that do everything for the college football playoff and all that kind of stuff, they can change your life. It's going to cost you 20 grand. So if you're being realistic and you develop a goal of like I said, I want to have more customers in the next year. I want to have 50% more activity on my website. Like realistic goals that we can reach together.
Yep.
I can help you get there by showing who you are and what makes you special and why people are going to want to be around you.
And where do you recommend showcasing these videos? Is it for social media, website, email? Like what's the secret sauce, or is it just about doing everything?
No, it's not. I don't recommend trying to do everything.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the industry that you're in and what type of people that you're trying to reach. Another thing that I'm good at that I probably need to publicize more is creating like an avatar for your company. I had to do that as a recruiter and as a hiring agent, kind of nonstop. So I'm pretty good at like figuring out who your main audience is and developing that avatar and helping you speak directly to them. And that means where does that person exist? Is that person on Facebook? Is that person on LinkedIn? Creating specific things to platforms, in my opinion, is very important. I know when people first get started, especially as like a money saving initiative, they're just like, oh, I'll just put it everywhere, which is fine. But you're not necessarily going to get the same results as if you like niche down and got real specific, because then we can work towards that platform, which, as we all know, the algorithm is a thing and it's real and we have to understand it and it changes a lot. And so if you're creating something for LinkedIn, it might not work on Instagram. So just knowing that and being honest about what you want to accomplish helps us, get specific and get more things. Now, if you want to have, I want a video for Facebook, I want a video for Instagram, I want a video for TikTok, I want a video for LinkedIn. If you want to do that, that's great, but just be prepared to put in the work, because it's not just sit down, record one thing and put it everywhere. That's not how it works.
Yeah. And how would you recommend people, be prepared with the content that they, to properly showcase to that avatar you're talking about?
Yeah. So, one thing that I always recommend that people do is like send me other videos in your industry that you like.
Mhm.
Like, hopefully by the time you hire somebody like me, you have some comparison. If not, then maybe that's something that we do, is like sit down and be like, all right, let's look at your industry online and see what's successful.
Mhm.
Because you do need to have something to shoot for, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't think you want to copy everything, but copying some stuff on the internet in terms of like structure and how things work is kind of how the internet works. It's kind of how you get yourself seen, right? Being completely obtuse and completely new is not a good strategy for building. Like, it's over time, if you do it for 10 years,
Yeah.
you might develop something new, a new industry of some sort. But if you're trying to like get in there, not be a social media star, but just use social media as a tool, then we want to be able to, it's good if you can send me a video and you're like, hey, I like this. It makes sense. And I would like to do something like that. That's helpful.
Do you, in addition to that, do you see most people are prepared and understand how to get started or showcase themselves, their company, and what they do, or what are other ways, in addition to that, that would help them be prepared to be able to maximize working with you?
Yeah. So one, I feel like people are generally pretty unprepared
Yeah.
for what I have to say. And that's okay, because that's the industry that those are the type of people I'm going towards,
Yeah.
right? I don't necessarily want to work with people that have like an established marketing plan.
Yeah.
Um, I like to help people get there. And
Mhm.
so it's pretty normal for them to come in and me have my camera and like have an idea of what we want to talk about that day. But then it's like, so what's next, Jake? What's your plan? It's like, oh, my plan. It's, well, it's not my company, but we could figure this out. No, so like I advise people to, kind of get into the habit of creating top 10 lists.
Mhm.
Things that you want to talk about, things that you think are important, things that you have coming up. If you have events and things in August, we should probably start talking about them in May,
Yeah.
and we should probably have a plan for that to roll it out. And so like always having like lists of things that you want to accomplish throughout the year, and then connecting the conversations to those things.
Yeah.
So like I said, if you want to grow the traffic on your website, all right, let's figure out what that means. Like, what does that mean for you? Like, where are
Yeah.
the people coming from right now? All that kind of, what kind of people are coming to you? Where are they from? All that kind of stuff. Like, that's big. So like, if you have that kind of information as far as like what you want to accomplish, then that makes the platform that we put it on a lot easier to figure out.
Yeah.
That makes the type of content, where we film it, all that kind of stuff, makes it all easier to figure out if you have a good idea of what you want to actually do. And it can't just be, well, it can be, but hey, I want to grow my social media accounts. All right,
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool.
That's
That's a cool
awesome.
idea. Like,
From what to what?
yeah, exactly. That's part of it, but it's also like you want to grow your social media account about what?
Yeah.
About you?
The
About your
clearer you
business?
are, the more likely you are to get there.
Right. Because like if you just want to grow your social media account, we can go rent a helicopter and do a stunt. People will watch it. They won't know what the hell you do.
Oh, I love where this is going.
But
Helicopter. This is great.
yeah, I mean, we could do some silly stuff. We could go downtown and like hold a podcast in the middle of a busy street.
I like what
People will watch that. People will click on it and people will share it. but does that mean that it's going to actually help you get towards a goal?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
So, Jake, to wrap up, could you? We've covered a lot of ground here, and man, this is awesome stuff. And I knew it would be. That's why I was so pumped up to have you on.
Thanks, man.
Could you talk just like, you were able to show a visual of your growth from your first camera to where you are now. But talk about like how you've grown as a business person, as an owner, and where you want to go next. Like how what your aspirations are as you continue to move forward.
Yeah, like I really want to be the person that people in Kansas City go to when they're starting their business. Like if you're trying to establish yourself and you're trying to develop, the type of people that you want to talk to, the type of people that you want to work with, how you want to present yourself in public and all that kind of stuff. I think, and this, I'm not trying to like ego boost me or anything. I think I'm the person that you should call before you call a marketing team. Because my experience, because I have worked with quite a few people that have marketing teams, and they're like, hey, we need content to match what our marketing team is asking for. In my experience, especially if you're trying to work on social media, marketing teams try to tell people who you are rather than listen to people about who they want you to be. And on social media, it's very important that you listen to your audience, and understand what they're connecting to, and not necessarily telling them what they're going to connect to. And that's what marketing teams tend to do. Is they say, all right, this is what your brand is going to look like. This is what it's going to sound like. This is what needs to be attached to everything that you post. This is what your captions are going to sound like. You're not going to do a poll other than once a month. You're going to do like all this stuff. And those schedules suck. Those content schedules are bad. And people charge $4,000 a month for them. And you're wasting your money, in my opinion. So when you're first getting started, I think somebody like me, or just me in general, like sitting down and going through the interview process and like writing the things down that we come across and meeting and going like, hey, when we talked about this, like you're super process oriented. You fell in love with a process. When we talked, it was like and I'm not saying you in particular, but like if I'm talking to somebody and their eyes light up when they're talking about the process of getting somebody in the door to closing the deal or whatever it is, and they're more interested in the process than the people, it's like, let's not try to be personable. That's not you. Let's do a top 10 list of things that happen when people come and see you. Like, let's make it process. And I think if you do that, then go get a marketing team and you're like, hey, this is my thing. This is what I want it to look like. This is what I want it to sound like.
Keep the genuineness of who you are and what you want to be and who you want to be.
Yeah, because then you can tell the marketing team to develop it around this thing that you have developed about yourself.
Inside out instead of outside in.
Exactly. So if you're a new business, here's my advice. Stop wasting your money on marketing. It's not helping you. It's hurting you.
Oh, man. Okay, so in working with you, I got to tell you one of my favorite parts. Every time we work together,
okay,
I'll get on a roll on something, and then you'll ask me a question. You'll continue to help me narrow it down. Maybe you've noticed I'm kind of high energy and can be a little all over the place at times. And once you get me dialed in towards the direction we're going, each time I'll hear you go, "Yep, there it is." And then I'll go, "What?" And you're like, "No, we're good." And then pack up all your shit and leave. Every time. It's the same every time.
That's funny. That's funny.
Man, it's so good. All right, Jake. So to close out our episode today on the business growth journey, could you talk about where your biggest growth personally on your journey has been and what it's meant to
you? Yeah. So knowing who I want to work with and who I don't want to work with, mainly who I don't want to work with, has been the biggest thing for me. Because I used to just like throw a big wide net, and whoever picked it up, I was going to say yes. And I've really realized that like I said, I'm not going to talk about the people I don't want to work with, but the people that I do want to work with, are those people that are, that have a baby in this small industry, this company that they built, and they're doing everything they can to make it work. And they're proud of it and they want more people to see it. And being able to like really embed myself with those kinds of people has just changed my perspective on business, because, well, I'll use a small example. Again, I don't want to make fun of people, but like if you work with a
I
really
love
big,
disclaimers.
if you work with a really big company, they don't necessarily care about the work that you put in to like get to know them or trying to show them in a good light. They just want it to look good. It's like they have, like somebody told them, hey, we need to put out some more videos on our website or something like that. And they're just like, yeah, okay. Yeah,
Sweet.
we'll go get this guy. He'll do something on the website.
Yeah.
I hate that. I think it's just, I don't know. It turns me off in terms of business and working with people. So when people are like really invested in what they're doing and they're nervous and they don't want to put out the wrong thing and all of that, like those are the people I want to work with. Those are the people I think I can help the most. And again, and obviously that's not a money play because most people in that space don't have money to spend. So it's a big reason, like I've worked on my prices as much as I have, because I want it to be affordable for people that are in those positions, but still allow me to do my job, right? Because I can take on, because of the way that I do it, I can take on 4 or 5 clients a month and do fine. And they don't have to pay that much money and they get all of the things that they need. So I've developed all of my packages, all of my individual pricing specifically for the people I want to work with. So if somebody called me and they had a $15,000 budget, I don't even know how I would create that package. It would take me weeks to figure out how to make my cost $15,000. You know what I'm saying? And no offense to the people that do that, because I understand it. Those one video merchants, I get it. But I didn't go to film school. I didn't go to production school. I have no ego about my abilities with a camera. I just want to get people to a place where they can be successful, because seeing people grow and find success, a guy that I worked with opened up a new location in a gym, and then in the same year he opened up a new gym downtown, and his social media was not a big part of it. I don't want to take that much credit, but it grew quite a bit during that time, and he was able to get a lot more clients to open up this new gym. And that made me feel good, because that's like, we're doing the things to help this guy live a better life and live the dream that he wanted.
Man, that's awesome. So if I were watching this video and didn't know you and wanted to get a hold of you and get started, how would I do that?
Yeah, I'm pretty readily available on most social media. Because of the way that I work, I'm on it most of the day. And then my website has a nice little inquiry field at the bottom. So if you have some specific ideas of stuff you want to make, that's a great place to do it, because it gives me a better idea of like how to approach that first phone call, which can always be a little awkward if you don't totally know what it is that you're looking for.
Oh, that's awesome. So they would just sign up, make an inquiry on your website, give you a call, and then from there, what's your process to get started?
Yeah, so the big part of it is figuring out what they want out of our relationship. So like deliverables type of thing, like asking those basic questions, like where are you going to put this? Like how much of it do you want out per month? Are you looking for regular daily content, weekly content? So like figuring out that kind of stuff so we can give a relative price, because I know that's important.
Yep.
It's I'm money talk makes me super uncomfortable, but I know it's the conversation that we have to lead with.
Yep.
Because it's, if we get to the end of that first phone call and we haven't talked about money, I'm probably not going to hear back from those people.
Yeah.
So I might as well throw it in there. So I try to get that done right away. At least give people a range, and then come back to like with an official proposal for what we can do. But a big part of it, again, I've said this a couple times throughout this, but like I want to work with people that want to work on it. So I try to sign people up for 90 days at a time, whether that's 1 time a month or 2 times a month. I try to lock into at least 90 days. So that gives us time to know each other a little bit better, and also just like figuring out if it's working, and concentrate on like building the stuff, because you can't, if you put out one video, it's hard to say if it's working, you know, it's hard unless if you want to come to me and you have a $10,000 budget and 8,000 of it is for marketing, cool. That'll work. 100% that will work. If you have that kind of budget and you want to put that into a video, we can do that. But if you have a $5,000 budget for the next 90 days, we can make that work too, but it's going to take a little bit more time.
Jake, this is awesome, man. So to close out, is there any advice you would give to anybody that sees this video from your journey?
Man, work a regular job as long as you can. And then when you can't do it anymore, do everything you can to never do it again.
That's awesome. Jake, thank you for being a guest on the Business Growth Journey, man. Awesome having you.
Appreciate you, bro.